you what.
I tell you what.
Welcome to Dumb Basses. Happy Labor Day, everybody. Good old Labor Day. It is Monday, September 4th, everyone. I got special co-host Mark Chevrier over here today. He was a guest on the show a couple weeks back. Got Tony's on break down there somewhere. What is it? Labor Day. And today, we are going to have our good friend David Fluker. A lot of you guys probably listen to know who David Fluker is. He's an awesome dude. He recently moved, it's been about a year or so. We'll talk all about that. But he moved down to South Carolina, and he's doing good, doing well down there, and he loves it. So we're going to get his take on everything that's happening. But it's Monday, and it feels weird because nobody had to work, and I did a whole bunch of kid stuff this weekend with the kids. I didn't get out going fishing at all. So I don't have a whole bunch of awesome stuff to tell you guys as far as what's going on, but we're gonna dive into it and figure out some stuff.
I did some fishing.
Yeah, Mark, you did some
Yes,
fishing.
I did.
Well, let's just go ahead and talk about it.
Fished yesterday with my old partner I used to fish Tuesday nights with Taylor Nestor, and fished the Great Lakes Largemouth Series out of West Harbor, and did good enough to come in fourth, take home a little bit of money, and
That's awesome.
did all right. Had 15-18 for weight.
15-18.
Yeah.
All largemouth.
All largemouth, yeah, largemouth only. 18 something won it. There was a high 17 in second.
Were those guys getting smallmouth?
No, all largemouth.
Oh, it's all.
It's a largemouth only circuit.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I didn't get that.
High 17s took second, low 17s took third, and there was nobody in the 16s or the high 15s, so we skated in there at fourth with 15, 18.
I didn't know it was all largemouth.
Oh, yeah, largemouth only.
Well, that's pretty cool.
That's why I went in the bay. You
Yeah.
know me, I wouldn't have been in the bay.
Right, and that's why I was kind of surprised that you did that.
Yeah.
Probably ought to take that off.
Oh, there you go.
It's not like I remember to do all this stuff. But that's cool, man. No, I didn't even get out and go fishing at all this week. I fished last week up there and then at Erie, and then, like I said, man, I just got a lot of stuff done with around the house this week. I had to catch
Well, you
up.
better get it done now because winter's coming, bud.
Yeah, it is coming.
Yeah, if you got something to do, you better get it done.
Yeah, it's coming quick. And as a matter of fact, as far as the weather goes, we'll go ahead and talk about that. But, so yeah, we'll just talk about the weather. It's coming, guys. We got, today was freaking hot. I was out there to parade, Labor Day parade with my son, and we were blazing. And then we went to the Obet's Zucchini Fest, and we saw some wrestling down there with one of my buddies. Sean is a wrestler, and we saw that, and we were out there blazing, and I can't believe those guys were out there doing all that stuff in the heat. I mean, he was sweating things off. But as you can see here with the weather, 90s until about Thursday, and then we get down towards the 80s, and then it feels like Friday we're really getting into the fall season, which is going to be a lot better than the summer season for fishing as far as I'm concerned. So I'm looking forward to that big time. And I've been putting off stuff. That's another reason I didn't go out this week, because I just actually didn't want to deal with the heat, man. I got to be honest with you. So anyway, lots more stuff coming up next week or this week coming up. I'm going down to Dale Hollow for that super tournament, that last BFL of the year. And it's supposed to be awesome down there too. No wind, and looking forward to going down there. Where is it? Please like and subscribe if you get some time. But yeah, there's our weather as far as the next, 10 days, 8 days up here. And let's go ahead and I didn't do it last week because I had some issues. I couldn't get this thing to turn on, but I got it this week. And as far as bass forecast goes, like I say, I like to check it, man, just to kind of get an idea of what they're saying might be the deal as far as fishing goes for the week. So here is our Columbus bass forecast for the week, you guys. If you look, I mean, that's pretty good, man. We got a lot of green here this week as the weather starts to get cooler.
6.5 for Tuesday night.
Yep, tomorrow night 6.5.
Yeah.
Let's see what they're saying. So tomorrow night, we got a major bite time from 5:27 to 7:27. So that's the majority of the tournament.
good.
Whether that means a dang thing or not.
It means Burger and Shaver can come in with 22 pounds.
Yeah, that means they're
18.
gonna. That's right. Good Lord, those guys they just know where the dang fish are. That's all there's to it, man. And when you go into bass forecast, look at this. You got different baits that they're suggesting. And one thing that I didn't show you guys before, which was pretty cool. So if you go into plastic worm, one of those categories, they've got these videos here that'll show you, how to work the dang bait and all that. And so if you guys are learning and want to get some information, that's a pretty cool little thing that we sure as hell didn't have when we were growing up.
Nope, we did it the hard way, man.
We did it it was definitely the hard way. It was kind of just feeling around. But now you got all this information, and that's one thing really, because I started really getting back into fishing 5-6 years ago or whatever it was, and having all this information, having all this YouTube stuff, having all the guys talking, having showing stuff. I mean, that was just invaluable for me. So it's really cool to have that stuff.
If you don't know something about a specific technique or something now, the only person you got to blame is yourself, because you might not be an expert on it, but it's easy to go out there and at least get the basics on stuff,
It just takes a little bit of work.
That's right. If you don't have the basics, then you're nobody to blame but you.
But it's all out there for you. And I've met a lot of guys here lately that have been coming back getting back into fishing, and that's what they're doing. And even when you figure stuff out, that's just what we like to do. Me and Mike were talking about it, doing this podcast. Why do we do it? We just like talking about fishing, man. And it takes such a big part of our life, and just to have a little outlet to talk about everything is pretty sweet. So anyway, that's what we got with that. So like I was saying, we got about another 15, 20 or so. We're going to have David Fluker on, and he's going to go over some of what he's doing down there and what he misses about up here in Ohio and all that kind of stuff. But let's do a little. I don't have a ton of local lakes. I was actually kind of getting more excited about just having David on. So I didn't do a whole bunch of stuff. There wasn't a whole bunch of stuff going on. A lot of the weekday stuff is done. Our Alum Creek stuff tomorrow is the last of the Tuesdays, and then we've got the championship on Friday the 15th. So that's what we're going to be doing. And other than that, we can start off with Hoover, though. Boom. Get that out of your face, Mark. Hoover, water temperatures between 75 and 76 right now, and that's actually lower than I imagined. Even though we've had 90s, we've had pretty cool evenings.
Especially last week, yeah.
Yeah. So
I bet it's climbing back up right now, though.
It probably is. I think he texted me this yesterday when he was out. So this is what it was, yesterday. I don't know how many more Thursday nights they have, but last Thursday, Nealon and Hall, they won with 5 fish, and they had 8.95 pounds. They had a 2.79 pounder to win that one. And Williams and Nealon, who had won the last 2 weeks, came in second place this week. They only had 2 fish, but they did have a 4.25. And they ended up with 7.59 for the second place over there. And that's pretty much all I've got. I didn't fish this week, I said.
No. I can tell you Erie was, water temp was about 72. We didn't get a pattern, man. It was like, got one on a buzzbait, one on a chatterbait, one on a football head, of course, my favorite. One on a spinnerbait, and one on a jig was our 5 keepers.
Jeez,
so
5.
Yeah, we were switching up all kinds of different things, and there wasn't any one thing that seemed to really pull them in the boat. It was just...
Well, that's fun, too.
Yeah.
But I love being versatile and catching stuff, but I also love having one rod on my deck.
Yeah, I was just going to say we're tripping over rods because we got rods all over the deck.
Yeah, nice. So it was windy, you said?
In the morning, about 8 miles an hour, but then it switched. It was southwest, and then it came out of the west about 20. So yeah, it was a little rocky and rolly out on the main lake. Yeah.
Well, it might have been a blessing then that you got to stay in the bay. So anyway, going down the list, I got nothing for you guys on Indian. I got nothing on Buckeye. I got nothing on Griggs. All that stuff that I'm aware of has quit for the year. So, Alum Creek, last week, once again, Berger and Shaver took first place with 16.48 pounds, and they had a 4.37 for their big fish. And then Yarnell and Jackson also had 5 fish for 9.7 for second place.
Yeah.
I don't know those guys.
I'm not sure that I do either.
Well, regardless, they had a good night. So good.
Yeah.
That's good for
Me
them.
and Jim brought in 5 for, I don't know, 780, something like that. Missed the last
Who was
spot.
it?
We were the first spot out of the money.
Oh, you
Jim.
were?
Yeah.
What did you guys have?
We had 5 for like 780 something, I think.
You're good. You got your 5 though.
Yeah, I got our 5. We're pretty good at that, but
Yeah. Well,
man,
you
it's
have
just, I've been getting them big bites. Don't know what to do to get a big bite.
Well, I've been doing research on my own. What I think I'm going to do as far as tomorrow night goes, I don't know. I've been doing all my research on Dale Hollow this week because I'm heading down there on Thursday. So when I go down to Dale Hollow on Thursday, I will have here. I'll tell you what I've got as far as my notes go. Here's what I got: jerkbait, finesse minnow, Ned rig, drop shot, spook, that Blitz EXDR. I don't know if you guys have tried that. Maybe I shouldn't even say anything because that has been my. And I'll show it to you, Mark. Dang it, I wish I could go grab one real quick, I guess. And then Carolina rig and a spy bait. And I don't know, spy bait. Have you ever fished a spy bait?
I do not throw spy baits. I never have gotten into that spy bait thing.
Well,
I hear I should.
yeah, I mean, I think the thing with the spy bait is that it's the conditions just have to be right for it, you know. And as far as that, my experience has been bluebird, like when it's super tough and it's flat, you know, no wind and no clouds. If you have a super flat day with super sunny, that's kind of the deal. When it's real quiet.
Those days we get here like maybe 2 times a year.
Yeah, they're not very often. So it's definitely a bait of opportunity in my experience. But, man, I've had a lot of fun with it, and I've really caught more smallmouth with it than largemouth.
Yeah,
so I
that's
think
what I hear. It's good for smallmouth. People have been telling me you should take those up to St. Clair with you.
Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what I was thinking. Definitely, that's where I learned how to use it, at St. Clair.
Yeah.
And I had a great time. And then the day after I learned how to use it on St. Clair, I came down to Erie for a club thing. It was one of those days that I couldn't fish the 2-day. I fished a Saturday and then came down, and I did well at Erie with it too. I caught the majority of my fish on it that day. When everybody else around, they were all by the monument and that little cut there.
Oh yeah.
And everybody was fishing and catching them on an Ed rig, and they were catching them all right. But I was throwing that fucking spy bait. I didn't mean to cuss there.
It's all right, man.
And I did real well on the spy bait. So that's why I put it on my list, because Dale Hollow's, and I know you don't really want to, I don't know if anybody doesn't know about Dale Hollow's slot limit, but I think they got one of the most hardcore slot limits out there. So you can only have 2 smallmouth, one under 15 and one over 21.
Oh, it's over 21.
It's 21.
It was over 20.
No.
21, man, that's a big small.
That's huge.
Yeah.
And so you're throwing back 4-pounders.
Oh, yeah.
And that's
I had that deal at Lake Douglas. I was in a big bass tour down at Lake Douglas and busted 2 smallmouth on a buzzbait in 2 casts. And there they have to be 20. And one was 19 3/4 and one was 19 1/2. And both of those fish, if I could have taken them to the scale, would have paid me money.
Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah, they're both like 5-pounders, man.
So you don't fish for them.
Yeah.
You know, you don't fish for smallmouth there.
No.
I mean, I not target on purpose. I don't know which one it was this year that I fished down there, but I had it might be 16. It's either 15, I can't remember. It's 15 or 16, but whatever it was, I had like a 14 and a 7/8. It was like that far from being a slot fish. So that's as good as you can get on the small side.
Yep.
And I have not got one over 21, so I haven't had to worry about that. But you're definitely not fishing for them down there. But I just thought I'd bring it anyway just to see what the heck. But it's starting to get jerkbait time is kind of what I'm feeling.
Yeah, and well, I see on your homework there you had a spook on there, and I know that I've heard a lot of things about spooks down there. So
And you know what I'm going to do, which I keep every time I tie on a spook, I wish I had a feather treble on the back, because if I'm not going to bite, then you wish you had a feather treble on the back, you know. And
Well,
so,
you know, I throw a lot of spooks, and I've done it both ways, and I don't know that, to me, I don't know that it makes a big difference. I haven't experienced a sway really one way or the other.
I just think I'm not catching them, so I got to be doing something wrong. And I figure that's an easy fix, and so I'll do it, and then I won't catch them. And so I ought to just have.
That spook bite's coming on, I'll tell you.
Is it?
That's where Jim and I, the last 2 weeks, have got a majority of our fish on Alamat.
Good. Glad to hear that, because I love throwing a spook. Walking the dog on a spook is that's one of my favorite things to do. You know what? I know it's early, but we don't have a whole bunch of stuff to talk about, and I was looking more forward to having David on, so I just say we just go ahead and have him on.
Bring him on.
Let's bring him on. From South Carolina, there he is.
What's going on, fellas?
How you doing, Dave?
What up, brother?
Pretty good. How you guys?
Good, man.
Man, we're doing great. We're doing great. How was your Labor Day weekend?
It was good, man. I took the kids out to the lake yesterday, and we did some fishing for all of 30 minutes.
Yeah.
So they got bored, and then,
Nice.
then we went swimming, man. So it was good.
What were you going?
Good
Crappie
way to
fishing?
utilize the weekend.
Were you going crappie fishing or were you bassing?
No, I got them out there to catch some bluegill, and they didn't catch any. They got bored pretty quick.
Yeah, well, that's pretty standard, man.
Get that son of yours,
Oh, yeah.
one of them stripers down there, and he'll be all ready to go.
Oh man, I want to. He hasn't been out much with me. One thing I learned about down here, man, is in the summer it is hot.
Oh yeah,
It is hot, extremely hot.
Mm-hmm.
So he hadn't been out with me much this summer, and then the spring obviously we're busy with tournaments. But this fall I'm gonna get him out a little bit and see if we can get him on a big bass.
He's 3 or 4.
He's 4. He turns 5 in November.
All right, he's getting there. That's
Oh,
good.
yeah.
That's
Yeah,
good.
he's up there.
Yeah.
He was working on his cast. He had so he loves crankbaits, man. He goes through my crankbait boxes, and I end up taking off a bunch of trebles and throw crankbaits on his little Zepco, and he throws them around the house and in the backyard. But he wanted a Senko on yesterday, and he said, "Daddy, can you put a real hook in it?" And I was like, "Absolutely, bud." So that lasted for all like 8 minutes. So
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I was gonna do the same, man. I was gonna take my kids crappie fishing, but we just ran into stuff and didn't get it done. But that's the way you got to start them, man. I mean, that's the way I started, right?
oh yeah.
Was it? I don't know. We did some, but yeah, that's awesome. So anyway,
Heck yeah.
moved to South Carolina. When did you do that? What month was it anyway?
Man, I think I moved. I want to say it was like it was actually 2 years ago or last year. I can't remember. Last July, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say it was
I think
June
it
or
was last
July
July.
because you fished some spring
Yeah.
stuff, and then after that you were gone.
Yep. I think it was like mid to end of July of last year.
You know, one thing I was not aware of that David told me down there, they don't even really do tournaments, right? Because it's so
Not in the
hot.
summer.
Yeah,
no,
not in the
it's,
summer. No.
there's a lot of nighttime tournaments, but
Yeah.
there's not many tournament trails that'll fish. And if they do, they're like smaller, kind of 10, 15 boat tournaments, but they're off the water at like 11 or 12. So it's like,
Yep.
yeah.
That's why the
heat
Big
really,
Bass Tour goes down in October, because that's the only
Oh,
time
yeah.
I've ever fished Murray is October, because it's finally
Yep.
starting to get fishable again. Then
Oh yeah. So like Mark was saying, so like tournaments are just now picking back up. So the fall and spring tournaments, I mean, there's tournaments every weekend on Murray. But the summer, I mean, you're hard pressed to get any daytime tournaments. It's a lot of nighttime tournaments here,
Yeah. So
which I haven't fished one yet, and I want to, but
a
I
night
haven't done it
tournament. We were just talking about going night fishing. I like night fishing, man. I mean, I know it's night, but your eyes adjust.
Yet. Oh yeah.
They're adjust
I
pretty
mean,
quick.
I went. There's these things. Mark knows this on Lake Murray. All these docks have green lights on them.
oh yeah,
And you can bounce around these green light docks at night. And I think went out last year with a buddy, and he caught like a 7. Walking I want to say it was I'm a little stick. I mean, just tossed it right on top of the light, and you could see the fish come up and eat it. It's actually pretty crazy.
So what do you mean? Green lights?
they got these lights underwater. on the
Underwater.
docks. Yeah,
Oh yeah,
it's
they're
cool,
underwater.
man. The first time I was down there, I was watching this massive amount of bluegills just swimming around
yeah.
under this green light by this dock. Next thing I know, this gigantic bass, probably 8-9 pounds, come up there and boom, grabbed him a bluegill and off he went.
No kidding.
Oh yeah, it was cool.
Yeah, the first time, Greg, I went night fishing here and fished the green lit docks. I was actually amazed with how many big bass were around these, and I started marking all the waypoints, and I'm like, I'm gonna come back in today. These bass can't be too far from here.
I've never heard of that.
Yeah.
So the homeowners put them out there to attract fish then?
Yep. There's quite a few of them too.
I'm assuming it's for them to catch like bluegill and for the kids to catch crappie and whatnot around the docks. But bass fishermen key in on those docks, especially night.
So David moved from Ohio, and now he's 15 minutes from the launch ramp at Lake Murray.
Oh yeah,
that's awesome, man. I mean, Lake Murray is really obviously this year it really kicked in as far as being a freaking premier bass lake in the country.
Yeah, man.
What are they on?
I think Bassmaster has it as the number 4 lake.
Number
in the
4,
right
yeah.
now.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah. And the fishing here is phenomenal. I mean, as you guys know, the fishing here is phenomenal. Though you can do pretty much anything you want to do, but one of the big things here on Lake Murray is if you can get on some of that the schooling bite when they're running blueback herring. I mean, it's addictive, man. You won't want to do anything else for the whole summer. I actually haven't really. I've only been really chasing the bluebacks, but it's main. I did it this year purposefully to try to learn that bite because prior to living here,
with the exception of St. Clair, that's about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never.
Yeah.
So what's the difference? They just move.
Man, so it's weird. So the bluebacks, these bass have put these bluebacks all around the lake, and so it makes them nomadic. So I mean, you can find like what I have found just through this year of doing it is I found points, off an island where they typically run these herring. The herring would just run up and down, and the bass will follow them. And then I kind of sit on those. But the difference is these bass are nomadic, man. One time they'll be, down by the dam, and the next day you go to find them, and they're 2 miles up because they're chasing the bluebacks up. So.
Yeah, and it's crazy because you can catch them in 80 feet of water, 90 feet of water.
Oh yeah.
And they're all on top because they're chasing. They school up these bluebacks. It's cool.
Yeah. In fact, I won't say every fish, but majority of the fish I've been catching over the last 2 months or so have been in about 30 feet of water. So what happens here is there's cane piles out, which is bamboo, but in the south they call it cane piles. And there's cane piles all over the lake, but typically on points and right off of like deep water where it comes up kind of on I don't want to say a ledge, but where it comes up on a shoal. And they'll put these cane piles out. And so when you're throwing these top waters and flukes and whatnot, you're throwing it right over these cane piles out in 30, 40 feet of water. It's actually, it's a transition. Like you have to learn how to fish it.
Are they like really tall or something?
Oh yeah, they're tall. They come all the way up at the bottom. So it's, I think they're like 20 feet tall. So like you'll be in 40 feet of water. The top of the cane will be in 20 feet, 15 to 20 feet. And what happens is the bass will sit in an ambush as the bluebacks come across them. That's when they'll come up and start busting on the surface. Something I learned this year from just fishing, trying to figure out this bite is sometimes, majority of the time, when the bluebacks are in the area, the bass aren't schooling on top, but they're still schooling down below. They're still running through those bait balls. And I actually figured this out looking at my forward facing sonar. I figured out that the bass are not, when they're busting on top, they're just coming to hit the stuff that's on the surface. They use the surface as a wall or as a ceiling. They come up and hit them because they can't go any higher. But when they're not doing that, the balls are still together under the water. You can see the bass coming through it. So I started throwing a drop shot to those and started catching a lot more that way, especially when the schooling bite started slowing down.
Got a suggestion for you. Jigging spoon, man.
Jigging spoon?
Throw a jigging spoon out in the middle of them guys and let it flutter down through them, and when it gets to the bottom, you'll get whammered.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
See, I've tried it maybe once or twice, and both times my jigging spoon's in the bottom of a bamboo or a cane pile somewhere.
Yeah, you got to keep it up, but get like a flutter spoon, and one of them Lake Fork flutter spoons do that. I'll bet you'll catch it with it.
Yeah, I'll have to give that shot.
Man, I want to come down there and visit. I got to get down there.
I told you got somewhere to sleep.
Yeah, no, I don't. I got to get down there. That sounds awesome. Something different. But you saw them on your forward facing.
It's fun.
The old forward facing. Here we are, September 23, and we got the big buzzing forward facing ban that's happening. I thought we'd spend a little time talking about that today.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy how many people are talking about it. And I know it's just had a resurgence after the end of the season. Obviously, they looked at their numbers or whatever, and it's not all that great, and I get it. But I personally, I would have thought we'd be done with this conversation by now, but it just keeps on.
Well, I think that northern swing to where that's the predominant deal brought it back up.
Yeah, and that's what
Oh,
it
yeah.
was. And it sure did.
And not that it
Teams
wasn't
in the
predominant all
north.
year. I mean, every tournament was won with forward facing except the Sabine River on the elites. So, I mean, Okeechobee was one
well,
with it.
what happened is it ended the year with a northern swing, and so everyone watching that, they saw all the forward-facing catches, and I think that's what triggered it. But I think, I think just through watching some stuff, I think there's a few pro guys that have some say-so on this.
They do. And there's some pro guys who are for it and against it. And I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll go through all of us here, David. Let's go. What's your take on the whole thing?
I mean, honestly, it's a tool just like anything else.
Which one do you have?
Both. I use Hummingbird Mega Live.
All right.
And it's a tool just like anything else. It's the same as side imaging, down imaging, Mega 360. I mean, they were all new and innovative at the time, and buzzwords for everybody. I think just right now the forward facing is a buzzword, and there's a lot of
it's buzzing. That's for sure. Do you think that
it's
you
definitely buzzing. Every post, every YouTube
Everything.
video,
Right.
they're talking about it.
Right.
My opinion on it, man, is like I don't know. I'm kind of neutral, right? I'm like not. I mean, I'm neither for or against. I know that there's a time and a place where forward-facing sonar it helps. I mean, there's for example, the Toyota series this year, Greg, when you and I fished, I had a limit on both days. Every single fish that I caught both days came from seeing them. I watched the fish eat, and in fact, I don't think I would have found the fish that I had on day one had I not had forward facing. And I tell you this because the creek that I was in, it was kind of a rocky creek. Well, the side came down to a small ledge, and then the ledge, when I say small, wasn't even the size of my boat before it dropped. I didn't see that when I scanned it initially. When I started fishing it, I saw fish sitting on top of that ledge with the forward facing. I figured out all the way down, all these fish are sitting just on top of that ledge. They were spawning spots. I don't think I would have found that if I had just side scanned it and started fishing. I don't think I would have realized it. I mean, but I think I realized it quicker with forward facing, which helped me on day one get my limit.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Do you think if you didn't have forward facing, you would do better? Or if they didn't allow it, would you think that you would be better place wise, or do you think that it would be about the same?
No. Honestly, I think forward facing it helps. I think what it would if we didn't have forward facing, it would force me to utilize the other tools that I have. Right. I'd have to get better at side imaging, or I'd have to get better at down imaging, or I'd have to get better with my Mega 360. I think it wouldn't. I don't think it would handicap me to the point where it would put me in a bad position. However, I will say that my adjustments would be slower. I think in tournament fishing, not being able to see how the fish are reacting to my bait in real time, I think my results that way would be different, or my adjustments would be different.
Right.
Longer worm, shorter worm.
What I hear you saying is it's not necessarily helping you catch fish, but it's helping you adjust to, get information about what's going on to find, for me, I use it a lot more to find structure than I do to actually like snipe out fish or whatever,
Oh yeah.
So
yeah,
that's kind of how I feel very similar to you in that regard. But I don't know. What do you think about it, Mark?
Well, as you know, I don't have it.
Right.
I see it as a great tool. I've used it on your boat before. My partner Jim has it on his boat. I've used it before. I'm not real good with it because I haven't used it a lot, but I'm much along the line with David on it. It's either I could do with it, I could do without it, and I do without it now, and I still catch fish. Might I catch more with it? I don't know. But as David knows, and you brought up an excellent point. If you don't have it, you got to become better at your side view and your 2D and all that. And you've been with me up on area. That's what I rely on, and I'm pretty good with it. And
Yeah.
and but what I would like to see, this is just my opinion, because from an aesthetics point of watching it on TV, I hate it. It's boring. It sucks.
Right.
I would like to see him be able to use it in practice, but not in the tournament. I don't know if it could come to that or if that could be done, but I think that would be a good deal because then they got the tool to find the fish and everything, and they're not sitting there watching them when they're catching them.
Mm-hmm. So you're saying an option would be use it for practice, not in a tournament. What's the big problem though? What's the problem that everybody's had?
So Greg, this actually brings me to the question I've had since everything started. Now, is the problem with anglers that don't want to use it, they aren't catching fish or aren't getting tournament results, or is it the viewers? Because tournament fishing today is very heavily dependent on viewership for sponsors and dollars, and
just like football or basketball.
Is it
or
the
anything
viewers
else?
that are saying what Mark was saying, that it's boring to watch?
Well, I think
that could very well be what's triggering all of this. Because forward facing isn't new. It's not new this year. It wasn't new last year. I don't think
year
these
5
same conversations were happening last year.
Yeah.
So I think what's happening is it's driving down some viewership, and I think now it's a hot topic. Kind of like I don't know if you guys remember back to last year when Major League Fishing or the BPT made this switch over to 5 fish. They still catch weight release, but keeping the 5 fish, and it was kind of a buzzword. It was a hot topic last year.
Well, and I could see MLF doing that. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead. I was going to say, but it was a hot topic because of viewership. Viewers wanted to see 5 fish. That's what they wanted.
That
to
must
see.
be the bottom line.
Well, it is because in order for tournament fishing at that level, on the elite level and on the BPT level, to survive, they got to have viewers. If they don't have viewers, they ain't going nowhere, man.
Right.
They're done.
Well, so for me on the whole thing is like, if the issue is the viewership, it's not necessarily the product, it's the way that it's being covered, right? And so for me, the Bassmaster Classic, how they had the mega, dialed with, that was awesome. And like I was telling you, Mark, when I was out there, David, up at St. Clair with the guys, and I was doing the official thing, the first day, Spencer Sheffield, I sat in his driver's seat. He let me have the Panoptics on, so I was able to watch what he was doing. And I was completely interested, and I was not bored, watching what he was watching, because he's out there fishing, and he's looking at the, whatever else is looking at out there, boats or whatever. So and he's scanning, and I'm noticing he missed a fish here, and then I'll see him kind of readjust and go back and dial in where that fish is, and it's kind of like, oh, okay, I didn't know if you're going to see that fish or not, and we were able to do that on the Classic too, and that to me as
was
a
it
viewer,
Gussie was it Gussie?
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember
who's Gussie.
He definitely had it. Is he the only one that had it? I thought there was multiple people that had it.
I think
He
he was
may
the
have
only
been,
one
but I
that
remember
had on
specifically
screen.
Gussie.
Yeah.
And I remember sitting
But
there.
that was cool.
Yeah, it was cool. I thought it was too, man, because that's what
And
we're
in fact,
seeing.
From that, I changed my color palette because I use Mega Live. I changed my color palette to that color palette because I was like, that looks really good.
Mm-hmm.
Mine looked good before, but like that was clear. So I made an adjustment based on watching that, which I think most viewers would if they were using the same product.
I completely agree. I don't think I'm a firm. No, do not ban it. That's my position. Is hardcore firm. Don't do that. Because I like it. It's fun, and I don't know.
I'm with you. So I'm with you from the angler. The angler side of me is saying, don't ban it. It's ridiculous. That's But the business side of me is thinking, hey, there's a bigger picture outside the tournaments that, to Mark's point, MLF and Bassmasters, they still have to make money, right?
Yeah, well, I get that.
The name of the game. So where's the happy medium? I think that's where everyone's either right or left on this, kind of like most things ever. But where's the happy medium? There's somewhere in the middle that we can.
Well, like
Mark made a great point.
Yeah, maybe in practice. Yeah, that's what I was. And then I had that thought too. But
Well, look at it from another standpoint too. What about not on the national level, but more on the local level, like your Tuesday nighters, your
well, I'm not saying
your
that if they don't want to have it, that's totally different. That's a whole other thing.
Yeah,
So
I
I
can
think
see a Tuesday nighter or something like that banning, like saying that it's not, allowed. The only reason why I say that is because if you look at the demographics typically of a Tuesday night, you're not 90% of the population of a Tuesday night is not going to have a $90,000 boat with $40,000 in electronics. Most guys are going to have a 20, 30-year-old boat.
well, that makes sense.
So you ban it there, it makes sense.
Yeah, and I get that would be fine, I guess. But all I know is I like forward facing, and I don't. And I've had it. Okay, so I've had it since 2020. I bought it in August of 2020. I bought the Garmin, the first one, the 32, and I used it. 99. I mean, I would probably say, man, in my first year, I didn't throw at a fish, like snipe at a fish, try to catch one time in my first year. I was still just kind of like, what's going on here? And I was using it to find like rock piles, or I'd use it to find brush or structure. And I wouldn't target fish, but I'd say, hey, look, I know there's a freaking rock pile, and I would flip over to the rock pile, fishing the rock pile, not fishing a specific fish, And I guess it was 2 years ago, or 21 maybe, or whenever it was. I went up to St. Clair and I fished with that Garrett Paquette, and he was showing me how to use it, and that's when it really clicked as far as how to do the sniping thing, and I learned how to do that up at St. Clair, And this year, I really made it a point to focus on learning my forward facing, and so I have done it. Hell, man, for 4 months, that's all I had at the front of my Phoenix. I had some issues with the Camus, and the Phoenix had it, and I didn't have anything else up there except other than forward facing. So for like 4 months, that's all I had up. I did forward facing, and I learned a lot. But I do know that I also wasted a lot of time looking at it and fishing for fish that weren't biting, And I would be like, but they're just right there. I'm not, dude. There's tons of fish right here.
Well, it's like anything else. It's a skill set, and you got to know how and when it's time to say, forget this program because those fish aren't biting. I know they're there, but they ain't biting. Yeah. And because you can kill yourself sitting on a pile of fish that aren't biting.
This year I have done that.
I'll give you an example. Last year at Lake Hartwell, I went there for a BFL. I just put the Mega Live on. I was in a rush. That was the first term of the year. I was like, I want to get this Mega Live on there. It's going to help me at Lake Hartwell. Mm-hmm. Well, I went out for 2 or 3 days, 2 days of practice, and I stared at fish all 2 days, and I never caught one I was looking at. Not one time. Mm-hmm. I turned that thing off, the Mega Live off, and I started just fishing what I know, start catching them. And then I turned it back on, and I wasn't throwing at fish anymore. Now I was looking to see what they were relating to. Mm-hmm. And I honestly didn't pick up the sniping fish until this year.
Yeah, pretty much.
And that was only from just practicing and just doing it because I was tired of having it, watching all the guys snipe their fish, and I was like, that looks cool. I want to try that. So I'm like you, Greg. I spent a couple months just doing it, and but yeah, that's a perfect example. At Lake Hartwell, dude, I was staring at fish, and I was getting frustrated. I'm like, I rushed. I got this thing put on. In my head, I was like, and for anyone, maybe minus Mark, but anyone without forward-facing sonar that thinks it's an automatic fish catch, that's just not the case.
No, it isn't. No, it isn't. That's for damn sure. And I caught less fish this year because I was using it, and I made that adjustment. I'm getting it as far as the.
You come down to effectiveness. Am I as effective as a guy with forward-facing sonar when I don't have it? Yes and no. If that guy's staring at fish that he ain't catching, I'm every bit as effective as he is, I am.
That's true.
Because I'm not going to sit on my spot and sit there and die. I'm going to move because I'm not getting bit. Even if, I don't know where the fish are actually down there, not necessarily. And that would make me more effective in that case. So there's times where not having it you could be better off.
You can because you're not sitting there. You're fishing. And I've made that distinction quite a few times where I'm like, I just need to fish now. I just need to dissect this area and make my cast like I normally do, rather than sit there and make one cast here and there. So,
kind of on that same kind of note, I've gotten to the point now with a Mega Live is when I pull into a space. This year at Chick, before my boat blew up.
Mm-hmm.
But this year at Chick, I went in. I was fishing stumps. Throw it to a stump. Fish didn't turn on it.
Oh
I just
yeah,
move on to the next stump.
yeah, yeah.
I got to a stump where the fish were. It went down. It turned on it, went down, followed it. I said, I just marked it in my head. That's a fish.
Mm-hmm.
Set the hook. So I guess it made me more efficient that way as far as fishing targets because now I know if the fish
Especially
react to
stumps.
it.
That was cool. I remember doing that with you that day because
Yeah.
all those stumps
Yeah.
were just, and you could, and that made it a lot more efficient, because you know exactly where the stump's at. And so, what does suck, okay? What does suck about forward facing is if you're in a situation like me and my friend Darren got into last year. We were down at Smith Lake for the Toyotas, and Darren, he was up in the
Oh.
Man, he was up. I think he was in the top 5 the first day. He dropped maybe to like 6 or 7. Anyway, entered the last day at about 7 or something like that, and he got paired up with a kid who was using his forward facing. And Darren, I mean, we were like, we wanted Darren to win a boat. He's had all kinds of BS. He had to get rid of his boat, and we're like, this is your boat. You're gonna do it. And then he got up there with this kid who was doing that all day long. And he didn't.
All day.
All day. He had 4. He said he had 4 at the end of the day. Kid let him come in and take 4 casts on the bank, and that was it. And he zeroed on championship day because he couldn't fish. Man, he was so mad, and I would be mad too. And that's bull crap. And that is not necessarily something that needs to be. That doesn't warrant a banning, in my opinion. I think that's more of a personal just.
Well, what's going
ethic.
to happen if that happens all the time? You're not going to get anybody signed up as co-anglers,
Right?
And you're back to that,
That I have not had. Luckily, I have not been on a boat with somebody who did that and screwed me like that. I have a feeling there's a good chance it might happen at Dale Hollow this weekend, though, because that's a big forward-facing.
Oh, that's right for the Super.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got a bad
It
feeling.
could.
It's going to happen to me at some point if I'm doing these things as coach.
Yeah.
But
Well, so on that, like, that just comes down to the angler.
Right.
'Cause on day 2, once my boat was up and running and everything, I told my guy, I said, he ended up blanking, but I told him, I said, hey, I'm looking at these fish on my Mega Live, but we are surrounded by stumps.
Right.
You may not be able to see them. They're everywhere. I kept the back graph on for him because I didn't want to completely handicap him, right? But I mean, it's kind of the nature of the beast, but I still try to give him opportunity enough to to catch fish. But,
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. Well, and that book, like I said, it boils down to just a personal code of ethics. If you're going to do that to somebody or not, and sleep at night afterwards.
Exactly.
I sure couldn't do that. I couldn't do that at this point in my life to somebody because that would suck. Wouldn't want that to happen to me.
I wouldn't want it to happen to me. Yeah.
No. And
especially the situation with Darren, right? Darren's situation was a little different because they weren't around stumps. They were out in the middle of nothing, of nowhere.
80
The back
over.
graph,
Yeah.
if I remember right, the back graph wasn't even on. And Darren, he was just casting into the abyss.
Yeah.
He didn't even know what he was casting at for
On
8
championship
hours. And
day,
that sucks.
that was
On championship day, that sucks.
he was so mad.
Yeah,
And
that does suck.
Yeah.
And David could attest to it when we were fishing the BFLs together, man. What was one of the first things we always talked about when we got back to dock? What our co-angler caught. Did your co-angler get any? Yeah, we were all. That was one of the proud things is our co-angler got fish, man. We got him on some fish.
Yeah.
I have never had a co-angler, and Mark's right. Yeah, that's because that's important, right? I mean, especially BFLs where everyone's there. We want everyone to have a good time. It's competitive. We want to win. It's fishing. We don't fish it for fun, or we fish it for fun, but we don't fish it just to give our money away. Right? We try to win. But the biggest thing is make sure everybody in the boat has a great time. And Mark and I used to.
That kid though was like going for it. I think he made like the Invitational or something. He won some big tournament. You remember? Like later, I can't remember the guy's name.
Yeah, I remember.
Whatever it was, he did win something.
Yeah, whatever it was, he won a big tournament.
And he's one
doing
of
the same thing.
young guns who, he's going for the pro thing. So, and I get it when you're spending that much money.
It makes sense. I get it. I understand from an angler in the front of the boat. I understand why situationally that would be something that you would have to do if that was your bite, especially if that was your bite. You got an ultimate goal you're trying to accomplish. That's your bite. You're not going to turn that off because you want the guy in the back to catch his 5 because you're trying to win a tournament too. So,
Right.
like I said, it's like everything. There's a balance somewhere. I just don't know where that balance is.
Well, I don't think the balance would be banning it.
No,
I don't
won't
know.
get
I just
banned.
don't think
I
that's
hope
the
it
right
won't
move.
get banned.
I know. And so, what I think they ought to do is they ought to give Garmin and they ought to give Lowrance, and I already know that with the new, what are those new Humminbird? What are they called? The new ones with the HDMI. What the hell's the name of them? The more expensive
Oh,
one.
the Apexes.
The
Yeah,
Apexes.
the Apex.
They already have the capabilities, but they need to give Garmin and Lowrance maybe a year to get their stuff together so they can do that kind of a. They need to figure out some way to broadcast that on the screen like they did at the Classic. And I think if they did that, we would be having this conversation right now. But I think they need to have a deadline to have that done. And, it's got to be some kind of a wireless thing, a Bluetooth.
Exactly. Yep.
A Bluetooth, whatever, that broadcasts it to somebody that can pick it up on their, however they do it. And I think if they did that, we wouldn't have as much of this. I'm just can't believe we're still talking about it, to be honest. And but it must be because of the viewership,
It's a buzzword, and I think, like I said, I just as soon as this started happening and they started buzzing, I immediately thought to last year and the whole 5-fish thing with BBT. The only reason why that was an issue, a thing at all, is because viewers were complaining about it.
Yeah, I
right?
guess
they weren't happy with seeing 200 1-pounders caught.
But can you imagine not having it, and some of these guys that live and die on it? I mean,
there's some guy, I'm not,
it would
I'm
be
not one
interesting
throw
to
names
see
out,
what would
there's
happen.
a lot of big name guys that
Well, Jacob Wheeler, bro.
relies on forward facing. Without it,
What would he be?
You can tell the guys that are quiet you can't hear anything from them right now. They're not posting on it. They're not saying anything. Are guys that are like, I need to figure out what's going on with this forward facing, because I bet those are the guys right now with their ears to the street trying to figure out if it's banned or not.
Can you imagine Koya Fujita without forward-facing sonar?
Well, we wouldn't know
His
his name.
game is gone.
We wouldn't know his name.
Gone.
Yeah.
There's a lot of guys like that.
Yeah.
So, but here's the other thing, and this is a conversation I have with a couple buddies here in South Carolina. What do you think Humminbird and Lowrance and Garmin are doing right now? If there's conversations about banning forward facing, I mean, forward facing's got to be a pretty decent margin of profit for them somewhere.
I'm sure.
What are they working on? Because that's like you, Gray. You're a business owner. That's like your biggest product. One of your largest products saying like,
right.
Hey, we're no longer allowed this in 48 states.
Well, they're obviously doing some super campaigning against it. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm just shocked that we're still talking about it. But it's a world. Randy Blockett he's just having a heyday, boy. He's like,
he's in heaven right now. He's loving this.
Yeah. So.
And again, like I do want to just like be open about it. Like, I'm not like for or against ban. Like, I don't want to see it banned because it's a tool just like anything else. I mean, I just think that there's a time and a place, and I think if someone were to ask me my 2 cents, at a corporate level on this, I would say having forward facing doesn't make you catch fish, right? It's all how you use it, Greg. I mean, you use it different. Market, when or if you get it, we're going to use it different. We use it towards our skill set. And some people's skill set is really good with it. Some people is average, but everyone uses it for something different. Greg uses it for finding structure. I use it to locate fish and then figure out how they're reacting to my bait. Everyone's different. I would say don't ban it because you have a lot of angry people in corporations.
Well, then it just keeps going on.
And then there would be something else 2 years from now. They'll create something else.
It makes it all. And I really, I mean, I get our Alabama rig was deadly back then, but man, if they would have just left it, it would have petered out like it kind of has petered out, right? Like it's not.
And I think forward-facing sonar is going to do somewhat of the same thing because these fish are going to figure it out. And I think.
Well, I'll tell you.
Talking to my buddy Jacob Wall, he's already told me that them fish scatter when you turn it on sometimes. Down there in Gunnersville, fishing the ledges, and I think them fish are going to figure it out. They're going to change the way they behave, and it's going to require another adjustment, and maybe a whole new tool. Who knows?
Mm-hmm. Well, I certainly am on the don't ban it train.
Yeah, I say don't ban it.
Yeah.
My vote goes to don't ban it.
I go either way. I don't. It doesn't matter to me because I'm still gonna fish, man.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But it would be
yeah. Ultimately, yes, I'm still gonna fish regardless.
it would
but
be interesting.
I'd like to have it as a tool.
It would be interesting to see what they do without it, right? I mean, it would be.
I and honestly, I don't. In my opinion, I don't think it'll get banned. I think this is more creating awareness. I think that's what this whole campaign is about: creating some awareness about what people feel about it, what people's opinion, like true opinions on it. Because I mean, up to this point, we've had like maybe some local anglers' true opinions on it, but we haven't really had anyone's true opinions on it at the large scale, right? Like at the BPT level or elite level, everyone normally is just pretty quiet about it. But now people are opening up about it and just and actually giving their 2 cents or their opinions on it. So I think it's good. It's going to create awareness. I don't think it'll get banned. I think at some point there is going to be a compromise somewhere. It could be using it for I wouldn't want to see it this way, but using it for 1 or 2 days of tournament or competition, and then championship day. No, for it. And I mean, there's a lot of different ways it can be played and kind of appease to everybody.
There
we know
are.
you can't please everybody, but you can meet somewhere in the middle.
Yeah. I just well, I guess we'll see what happens, and I have a feeling we'll probably see what happens here pretty quick.
Well, and I think so. I think some of it could just come down to scheduling, because some of the way that the schedule's laid out opens it up to being forward-facing sonar. If you change the time you go to some of these lakes, it would dramatically reduce the effectiveness of it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so that's kind of an interesting Mark. What about lakes where? I mean, what was it, like the Red River? I can't remember.
Sabine?
What about these places? The Sabine River. I mean, where the fishing is not traditionally great. How did the forward facing play there?
It didn't play at the Sabine. It's the only one that it didn't play at.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I wonder about the Ohio River if we're talking about now.
And the Ohio River. How would that play?
I don't think it'd be. Yeah, you'd be out there staring.
Doesn't seem to be helping the Ohio River too much.
Nope.
No, there's 6 fish in all the Ohio River, and they eat Senkos and jigs.
Yeah. Well, I like forward facing, man. And as a matter of fact, I was thinking I really got into deep thought about having it taken off my boat or going out there without forward facing, and I started sweating a little bit, man. I was kind of like, I've spent here however many years, it's 3 years now, and it's kind of like not having something like that would be different. I'd be down. I mean, whatever. I just love fishing, but that's become a part of my whole routine now. So.
Well, when it gets.
But when you're fishing at like a competitive level, you want every gadget out there possible, right? Like we're competing. You're actually trying to win a tournament.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I sit here and weigh the balance of having it and not having it, and I'm still cutting checks without it. When it gets to where I go a whole year and I ain't cutting no checks, then I'm gonna have to really maybe reconsider it.
Yeah.
But I mean, I cashed a check this weekend. I didn't have it. It didn't come into play mostly because it was. Although I wouldn't say that because I did fish a deep water spot, David. I don't know if you remember over by Marblehead, when I got that deep water largemouth spot. I caught a couple off of that. I didn't have forward facing sonar out there. And the funny thing is, there was guys up there pounding the rocks in the shallow pounding the rocks. I'm out there 200 yards offshore catching them in deep, 15, 20 feet. And but I can still do that without the forward facing sonar. But if it gets to where I don't feel I have a chance without it, then I'll have to consider weighing that deal.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen that. It was a couple weeks maybe ago that they had. Me and Mark just watched it. The BTO with Ken Duke on it. I don't know if I sent that to you or not, but he has a very interesting take on the whole thing, and I'm not going to go over the whole thing. You guys want to watch it? You go ahead and watch it, but it's towards the middle of the program. But he had an interesting take. And I wasn't aware that the license sales have gone down since the 80s every single year.
Fishing licenses.
Fishing license sales. Yeah. I didn't know that. And so his take is kind of like, that would be really stupid to ban something that is bringing hope to so many anglers out there as far as being, good. Or, what do you say? They want the consumer to feel like they're able to purchase success or something.
Yeah, something along those lines, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm with him on that. So I guess that's pretty much covers the forward facing. I don't know. I just don't like people telling me what to do about anything. So don't tell me.
Well, let's talk about this in 2 more weeks. The whole story is going to be different because it's going to change.
Yeah.
It's changed for the last year. It's going to keep changing.
There's going to be something else that shakes up the fishing world before long. The forward facing is just. I don't think they'll ban it. I think that.
Do you think they should have banned the Alabama rig?
Do I think they should have?
Mm-hmm.
No.
Now that we've had, no doubt. What the heck?
No.
And I heard some guys being,
have.
So I heard some guys talking.
I like Toyota's series rules on it: 5 wires, 3 hooks, 5 blades, whatever. Like, I think that's a fair compromise. I mean, not completely banning it, because there's a time and a place. And I tell you, if you guys come down to visit me, like Murray, early spring or late winter, that's all I'll have on my deck is Alabama rigs, and they work.
Yeah, right, and you can see them well.
It got 19 pounds for me that first tournament of the year, just throwing it in 2 spots. I got on spot lock and I stayed in 2 spots the entire tournament and brought in 19 something pounds. Cut a check, very first CBC of the year.
Nice.
Alabama rig is a tool, just like everything else.
Yeah, you put it with forward facing, it could be deadly. But
it's deadly. You combine it with forward facing.
Yeah. But the thing is, everybody, pretty much has the opportunity. If they really, really want it, you'll figure out a way to get it done. You know?
That's my stance on it. You want it, you'll figure out a way to go buy it.
Yeah.
Just like anything.
My buddy Mike up there, he was on the very first show. He got it. I actually sold him one of my old transducers, and he Ubered, man. He Ubered for a few days. He was out. Yeah, he had to stay up late and Uber. He didn't get as much sleep, but he got the dang forward face, and he just worked hard for it. Anyway, all right, let's close the book on that. Forward facing needs to stay. Moving on. What do you got going on the rest of the year? Do you have anything?
The rest of the year?
Mm-hmm.
I've got. Actually, this weekend is I fished a Guardian Classic. It's a veterans tournament where a bunch of pro anglers and just local anglers take out veterans and fish a tournament. Kind of a partner deal. Davey Height actually MCs it. My buddy Bobby Edwards, he's a veteran. He actually puts it on. And I fished it last year, man. It was a great event. And
Murray?
I'm going to do it again this Saturday.
Oh, Murray. Nice.
Yeah, on Murray. Y'all should come down and fish it next year, man.
I promise you, when we go to September 4th, 2024, I'll have been there and fished with you at least once.
Absolutely. Come on down. Other than that, man, I fished it's called the Carolina Bass Challenge. It's a huge tournament circuit out in Carolina. You got North Carolina, South Carolina divisions. And I qualified for the championship this year. So that's on Santee Cooper. The Classic is the 27th and 28th over at Santee Cooper.
Oh, nice.
So after that, I got nothing. Just prepping for next year, doing some sponsor talks and kind of getting stuff lined up for next year. But yeah, that's really it.
Nice. Do you want to do a little sponsor talking?
Yeah.
Tell me about what you got.
So right now I have my title sponsor is Ratliff Contracting. They're a company out of out of Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
They're a roofing company. Daiwa.
You just recently switched to Daiwa. This year.
Yeah, recently. I just recently signed with Daiwa just a few months ago, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Which was good. I have Boat Wrench, which is my boat dealer here in South Carolina. Power Pole. Woo Tungsten, Cashin Fishing Rods.
Cashin Rods.
American-made fishing rods. Cashin Rods, yep. You are a fellow partner with me with Cashin, but Cashin Fishing Rods. It's the only fishing rod I use now.
Me too. And I love them, man. I can't. And I just did, and I'll tell you, they do lifetime warranty. Just for everybody that doesn't know, Cashin's the only rod company that makes their blanks in-house in America. And they make them out of North Carolina.
Right, North Carolina.
And they're just awesome people. The rods, everybody's got their own personal opinion on whatever they like. Those rods just feel good in my hand, and that's pretty much what sold me from day one. I got tired of cork.
Absolutely.
Cork, I got tired of cork breaking on me and getting dirty and slippery, and so I got.
Well, Mark, you know Ian Mangino, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so Ian, when I first started fishing cash, I didn't even have a casting rod at this point, but we were jig fishing. We were at Rocky Fork, and he was counting every single pebble that was hitting his line, and I was like, "There's no way." At this point, I was with a different brand, and I threw his rod, and I started messing around with it, and God, I tell you, I felt every single pebble, and in fact, I felt a bite, except the hook, caught like a 2 pounder, 2.5 pounder. I was sold after that. I went home, sold every one of the other rods I had, and bought all cashins, and I've been kind of with cashin ever since. And I honestly won't. Not only the fact that they're light, they're sensitive, but they're made right here in America. I mean, you just can't. I mean, it's like a trifecta win. You can't beat that.
Nope. And they offer lifetime warranty on their stuff, and it's like you got to pay what is it, $70 or whatever it was for 'em. Maybe it's 80.
Yeah, but no questions asked. Well, it's
Yep.
any issue, you break it or whatever. You
I
send
just
money,
sent.
send you a new rod.
I just sent 8. I'm hard on my
10
stuff.
8 in.
Yeah, I'm hard on it, man.
My boat's hard on mine, not me.
Yeah, that's not your fault.
But they snap more of my rod lockers and when I'm closing them,
Yeah.
like an idiot.
I broke them all doing all kinds of stuff. I really have only broken one on a hook set. So I think I've had to replace 12. But
I've only had to replace like 4.
Well, I only had one on a hook set. That I would say, man, what the heck was that? And it was a 4-pounder. It was up there at Gunnersville. I don't know if you remember that. Remember when I broke that on that jig bite? And but that was the only one that I broke. Like that I was kind of like, wow, that's weird. And I remember that one because it broke, and I was like, what the? And I hand lined that 4-pounder in. I got him. But no, I like casting rods a lot.
Yeah, casting. They're good rods, man. I fished with. I fished with a lot of different rods till I found one that I could settle in with, and casting ended up being it. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's really. I mean, I think I said Wu Tungsten, and I'm working. So there'll be probably some announcements before the end of the season. I've got some things shifting around for me, for the better. So
good.
I'm actually pretty excited about a few of these things. So I can't release details yet. Contracts aren't signed yet.
For sure. Well, I hope you get it, whatever it is. I think I have an idea, but I hope you get it, man.
Appreciate it, brother.
Yeah. So anyway, what do you got? You got a little something?
I got Tuesday night championship, as you mentioned earlier, and I got one more Ohio Mega Bass tournament on Delaware. Hoping to climb back up a little bit in the standings. We were second, fell to fourth after the last one, so we need to pass a couple more spots. I don't think we'll catch the guys for first, and then we got first week in October. Got actually the second week in October. Got the Mega Bass Championship up at the Detroit River.
Oh yeah,
that's gonna be nice.
Sweet.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
Yeah,
We won sixth last year in our first year in it, so hoping to.
You got sixth?
Yeah, we got sixth last year. So and that was the first time I'd ever been there.
Yeah.
So
what did you do last year? Did you go into Erie?
Well, we planned on going into Erie, and then the wind changed, and we couldn't fish it. We went out there. I got one fish, and it got progressively worse and worse and worse to where we were like in 5-footers, and I said, we got to get out of here. And we ran back up into the river and ended up fishing both days in the river, caught all our fish out of the river.
Did you?
Yep.
Nice.
Which was funny because we practiced 2 days in the river and never caught a keeper in the river. So
that wind pushed those fish in there too.
Well, I don't know what happened. I got serious about it. After we came out of the death ride out of Lake Erie and got back up into the river, I came off plane and Jim goes, "What are you doing?" I said, "I just got to look at this map for a minute and figure out what we can do." I said,
yeah.
And what I actually kind of did was relied on some of my out west experience on the Columbia River, and I looked at that map and I said, "Let me go just treat this like I'm on the Columbia River." And I started looking on the map and I found a spot. It wasn't very far from where we were, and I zipped over there, and we had a limit in about 20 minutes. And then I found another spot that was similar to that. We ran up to it, and we called 3 or 4, and then the next day kind of did the same thing, just hit them pretty much those 2 spots. And then we found right at the end of the day, on the second day, we were fishing a seawall, and Jim has happened to turn around and saw like a 4-pounder bust out in the middle of the current. We were fishing current breaks and stuff at that time, like a seawalls and docks and things like that. And he turned around and said, "I'm going to throw out there." He throws out there, bam, 4-pounder. Throws back out there again, bam, another 4-pounder. Called out another one. And in the last probably hour, we called out 4 of the 5 fish we had. and ended up with 18 something. And I thought, God, what if we'd have figured that out just
Figured it out early.
2 hours earlier? Who knows what would have happened? So we're going to be up there for 8 days to practice. So we should be able to figure some stuff out.
8 days.
Yeah,
Oh
that'd
wow.
be good. I hope y'all do well up there, man. I think I told both of you. That's where I cut my teeth, Detroit River in St.
Oh,
Clair.
yeah. Where you from?
Oh, yeah.
Up there.
That's where I cut my teeth. That's where I started that's where my whole fishing life started.
That's not a bad place to start.
Oh yeah. It was because I started there and transitioned to Ohio, and I said, "What the heck is this?"
Yeah, you went from catching fish to
Yeah, but I bet your learning curve was a lot bigger when you got to Ohio than it was up there because it was too easy.
Oh yeah. Yeah. My skill set grew.
well, right,
tremendously when I
because
got
you
to
got to
Ohio.
figure it out, man. I mean, I fish so much better everywhere else.
Yep.
Everywhere else, man. So, cause
Hey, I'll tell you something. My friends, I got friends here in South Carolina. And we always laugh and stuff. And I tell them, hey, I was fishing Ohio for the last 5, 6, 7 years. When stuff gets tough, like when Lake Murray gets tough, the guys that catch 30, 40 fish a day, they're frazzing out. Whereas I just go put my head down and find a creek somewhere and fish it like I'm fishing the Ohio River.
I was going to say,
I'm
just
fishing
bring
for 5
those
fish
guys
now.
up to the Ohio River one summer. We'll all get our boats together, take them out, and show them what fishing really is.
Oh yeah.
yeah, no, I feel
Yeah.
you, bro. It really teaches you a lot of patience. Absolutely, it does.
Oh yeah.
And
Absolutely.
it's funny if you listen to some stuff like old Bill Owen stuff, or even new Bill Owen stuff. He'll he's in the same boat, man. He's like, I'm used to not catching fish, so.
Oh yeah.
And so that does help. Doesn't spin
It
you
helped
out.
me this year in the Toyota
Well, it
series.
teaches you
And
not to panic,
Greg and
too.
I talked about this. At Gunnersville, right? I found fish. I knew they were there. I had good fish where I was, but they just weren't acting right. And had I not had the Ohio experience for the last 7 years, where that's normal, I would have probably been, spazzing out.
Well,
But I was able to stay calm and catch a couple fish because of Ohio fishing.
Yep,
So
exactly.
just to sit in there. Yeah.
No, I don't have any. I mean, I'm used to it.
Yeah.
But you're talking about up there when that rain came and all that water came in there. Yeah,
Washed everything out, man.
yeah,
It's horrible.
it did. But yeah, no, Ohio. Like I say, if you can catch fish here, man, I would guess you can catch them about anywhere. I mean, I would.
That's what they say.
Is it?
That's what they say.
Well, that's definitely what I'm saying.
I'd back that. Yeah.
That's cool. I mean, it makes you feel good when you catch them, and it just also makes you feel real bad when you don't. And then there's everybody else that really does. And you're like, what the hell?
Yeah.
So that's my life in a nutshell. But another Toyota series still hadn't come out yet. Me and David traveled together here for the Toyotas, and still hadn't come out yet. I'm kind of surprised about
No,
that.
I'm hoping this week, man. I'm hoping this week.
I think I saw somewhere where they didn't come out until towards the end of the month last year, in the 23rd or 26th.
Yeah, it was like the 20 something
Yeah.
last year.
So we might have.
But I did see. Did you? I don't know if you saw this, but somebody posted for the. I think the Southerns the Southerns are coming here to Santee.
The what is?
I think it's not. It's not the Southerns. Toyota division.
Where does that one
The
usually?
Southern coming to Santee Cooper
Oh, is it?
here in South Carolina. Yeah. So I guess from what I was reading, it's not official, but this guy is like in the know because he actually put all 3 lakes and said not official, just throwing it out there. I'll screenshot it and send it to you.
Interesting. Well, I
But,
mean that's a great fishery. So
Yeah, I mean Santee can be good. Santee can be really scary, but
yeah, back 20 years ago, it was one of the big, huge ones.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that was the lake.
Santee?
That was the
Oh, yeah.
destination lake. Yep, or area.
I'll tell you, Santee is the scariest lake. I have never experienced Santee until like 2 years ago. I've never seen anyone run 70 miles an hour wide open in 2 feet of water with stumps the size of a house.
That's scary.
That place is freaky, man. Like,
Do they do
it's
the
bad. It
lane
scares
thing?
me.
Do they have to do the lane thing there like they do in Texas or not?
Oh yeah, so last year fishing the BFL, I was following another boat out. Right, I'd spent 3 days of practice. I think I even spent 4 days of practice because I was trying to figure it out. I knew I'd never been there before. Well, I kind of started getting comfortable with this area, but I saw these little back lanes, and I was like, do I troll over there? Like, what do I do? So first day of the tournament, I'm running into my spot. It's called the Brickyard. If you guys ever fish Santee, just look for the Brickyard. It's kind of like it leads you to all the other stuff. But I was going back through the brickyard and I followed this. The boat didn't stop at where I wanted to fish, and I was like, he was going back to that lane, and I was like, I'm just gonna run with him, make a track, so that way I can go back there and fish or whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we're running. And I look down and I see stumps on both sides, and I'm running like I'm trying to keep up with this guy. I'm going 70 something miles an hour, and I was in 3 feet of water. So I shut down. I trimmed my motor all the way up. I got out of the lane. Boats, were ripping by. I'm fishing the side just to let everybody come through. And then I use a trolling motor to go all the way back up. Well, I'm looking down and I'm going over stumps the whole way. Santee is a forest that they cut down and then flooded. Well, they didn't finish clearing out all the trees, and so they just cut little lanes in for people to run. But it's only 3-4 feet of water. It's spooky,
That's
man.
scary.
It's crazy.
It's like imagine Buckeye
the
full
week
of
after
stumps.
that.
Yeah. Buckeye was stumped.
Yeah, it's nuts. And the week after that, there was a boat accident. A guy had to be heli-flighted out. He hit a stump, and his motor came over and chopped him up pretty good.
I believe it, and that's
what I was afraid of. So
right. Get a
I
leash.
used my trolling motor until I got to 10 feet of water, and I ran out of there. So
I don't know if leashes work, but that makes you feel like better. You know what I'm saying?
So I thought about grabbing one. So this tournament, like I said, is at the end of October. It's funny, I actually just put one in the cart like 2 days ago, just because I don't know. I'm not necessarily scared. I just don't know the place enough to run around wide open. So
it's just kind of like one of those. You might as well have it if you can. It's just a safety. Yeah. I got one. I don't know if it. Like I say, I don't know if it really would work. Right? Is that really going to work? I don't know. We'll find out. Hopefully not.
I don't know. Yeah, I was gonna say. I hope you never find out. But
yeah.
It's good to have it on there just in case.
Yeah, absolutely. So anyway, we like to do the little dumb bass moment. You got a little something?
Yeah, I got one. Mark shares this dumb bass moment with me.
You ready, Mark?
Dumb bass moment.
Yeah, so Mark's probably got a different take on this, but Mark and I were up fishing Lake Erie one time. I was in the back of his boat, and we were in the back, fishing some lily pads, and I hook one. I don't know what I thought it was throwing a jig or what, but I set the hook, I bring it in. It's got about 2 feet from me, and I realized it was a bowfin.
Oh,
well,
yeah.
I didn't know how, I was kind of like, I'd never caught a bowfin before, right? So I was like, do I lip this thing? Like, no. I looked down, saw the teeth, said, definitely not lipping this thing. Do I grab it and pull it up? Nah, probably not. So I asked Mark for pliers. Mark hands me pliers. I go to grab my jig. I think it was a jig. And I go to shake. Well, this bowfin tail flaps come straight out of the water. I just drop his pliers right into Lake Erie. Right in the lake. I jump back.
Nice.
I was like, you can have everything. You want my wallet, Mr. Bowfin? You can have it all.
I never seen me so scared of a fish in my life.
I was not about that. That is my dumb bass moment, man.
Nice.
I was not about that dang fish.
Well, that was a good one.
I saw one of those yesterday come up surface right next to my boat, and every time I see one up there, I think, yeah.
Oh my God, man! This thing, the one that almost ate my hand, had like some green tail going on, man. It was like a neon green. It was not. I was not about it.
Yeah, they're not good.
I didn't want to touch that thing.
That's funny. Nice.
Yeah.
Well, we could sit here and talk till about midnight, but I'm gonna call it. I appreciate you coming on, brother. That was good having you on.
Heck yeah, man.
Good
I
to talk to
appreciate
you,
y'all.
Dave.
Absolutely. All right. Well, we'll talk soon, man. And other than have a good rest of the week, and good luck with everything. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, man. Have a good week. I'm sure I'll talk to y'all later.
Right
Get
on,
him
man.
at Santee, brother.
All right, see you.
All right, bye, David. He's a good dude.
There you go. Good dude. Yep.
He's a great dude. I really like David a lot. He's one of my best buddies. Anyway, all right. Well, let's see. Can we switch back here? I don't know. Maybe not.
I'd like to get him down to Eufaula and have him hook an alligator and see what he does. He's afraid of them both in there.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you remember our second guest. He was fishing for him, and he sent me a video of that. I'll have to show you that. When he cooked that one, he sent me the video. That was real.
They will come after a frog. I can tell you that.
I know, they will.
Oh,
They'll follow
absolutely
it
they
from
will.
afar away, man. Because
Yep.
when I was down there in Florida with my dad, you wouldn't even see it, and all of a sudden he'd be following it. He'd come from miles or whatever far away. But anyway, appreciate everybody tuning in this evening. You guys have a wonderful rest of your week, and we will see you back here in about 6 days. Dumb basses. We're out.
Out of here.